Toastmasters first Vice President Stefano McGhee, and today I'm here with the two newest accredited speakers, Lauren Parsons and Maureen Zappala. The Accredited Speaker program recognizes professional speakers who combine their expert knowledge in a particular subject with mastery of the spoken word, making them sought-after experts in their respective fields. The process to become an accredited speaker often takes years. At level 1 of the program, Toastmasters members must submit a detailed application and video presentation to be reviewed by a panel of expert judges. Those who pass level 1 are invited to present for a live audience and a second panel of judges at the level 2 program during the Toastmasters International Convention. To receive the designation, they must get a passing score from at least 4 of the 5 judges viewing them live. Lauren Parsons and Maureen Zappala presented this past August in Anaheim, California, and met the high bar for this program, earning this prestigious designation. Lauren, Maureen, congratulations on this truly remarkable accomplishment. We're excited to learn a little bit more about you and your path to becoming professional speakers and your journey in the Accredited Speaker program. So let's get started. Start with Maureen. Maureen, congratulations to you on this remarkable accomplishment. Could you first tell us about your background in Toastmasters, where you're from, and how long you've been with Toastmasters or been a member, and what prompted you to join Toastmasters?
Okay, a lot of questions. I've been in Toastmasters a long time. I don't know exactly how long, and I've been in and out a few times over the course of, I think I first joined in 1997. So it's been a while. It's been a long journey, a great journey. I joined, I tell this story, it's a funny story. I was at the time, I was working full-time. No, I had just quit a full-time job, was working part-time selling cosmetics door to door practically. And I needed to meet women, which sounds kind of odd saying it like that. But I joined to meet clients because I had a cash flow problem. I had no idea that I walked into this absolutely amazing, sometimes kooky, abnormal, but beautiful world of, applause and ribbons, and it was magical. So I stayed for one reason. I joined for one reason and stayed for another. Cool. Oh, and then you asked where I'm from. That was all back in Cleveland. I lived in Cleveland for 37 years until about 5 years ago. Then I moved to Las Vegas. So I started in Cleveland area, and then now I'm part of a club here in Vegas.
Thanks, Maureen. It really helps us out to understand where you've come from. How about you, Lauren? How long have you been a Toastmaster? Where are you from? And what prompted you to join Toastmasters?
I'm from the Manawatu in New Zealand, so about 2 hours north of our capital, Wellington. And I first joined actually over in Australia. My husband is in the military, and we just moved over to Canberra, the capital of Australia. And it was a professional speaking friend of mine who recommended Toastmasters to me. Before then, I thought it was something just really for beginners or people that want to learn to do a speech at their son's wedding. And because she was an amazing professional speaker and getting a lot out of it, I went and checked it out, and I joined a really social dinner club that met once a month in Canberra. And like you, Maureen, got to meet lots of people. I didn't know anyone before we moved there. So I was hooked from the very start and have been a member in Australia, in Canada, in District 61, and here in New Zealand. Oh, and I first started, that was in 2014, so that was 10 years ago.
Wow, awesome. Well, Lauren, we're going to stay with you a little bit and ask you, how did you feel when you found out that you were a new accredited speaker? And what do you think that it's going to mean for you in your career?
I was absolutely elated and also actually very relieved to hear. Maureen and I were both waiting outside the room, heading in to speak to the program chairs. And yeah, it was just this moment of joy. It had been a long build up. I had aimed to take part a few years before and hadn't been successful. So it had been this really long journey. And so this year to be able to present live in person and then to hear that it had all paid off was amazing. And just, yeah, it's been wonderful kind of joining the AES family and connecting with other accredited speakers from around the world.
Thanks, Lauren. Now over to you, Maureen. How did you feel when you found out that you were one of our newest accredited speakers, and what do you think it means for you and your career?
It's funny. I didn't know that I got it. Of course, you don't know until the judges tell you. But even when I went in to meet with the judges and the officials, they were talking about the event. They were talking about my presentation, and it was like, wah, wah, wah. It's all I heard was wah, wah, wah. I didn't really know what they were saying. And they said, well, the next step is, I said, wait, did I get it? And they're like, yes, you got it. So I was just like Lauren, elated, overjoyed, and it was really fun.
Well, Maureen, let's stay with you a little bit. In your opinion, what does it take to succeed to become an accredited speaker, and how long did it take you to earn the designation once you decided that you were going to do it?
That's a fuzzy question because I don't remember a moment in time that I decided to do it. I did try it way back in the way back, excuse me, when they were just doing audio submissions before they did the video submissions. And I am much better. I'm my own visual aid. So when I applied and I didn't get it, I didn't get past the first level. I thought, okay, well, that was that. That was the end of that. It was when I got serious about my speaking business, which has only been in the past maybe 4 or 5 years. Again, it wasn't on my radar until I had accumulated a lot of business and past clients and great juju in the business. I'm known for my topic. I consider myself an expert in the topic. And I looked, I'm like, maybe I should maybe I should think back about accredited speaker. And when I looked at the qualifications, I was like, I'm there. I've already done all the work. Now the hardest part was getting the video. Not that I didn't have the video. I didn't have a specific enough time frame video because I had to be 60 minutes and mine were like 70, 75. So long answer to a short question. I'm known for that.
That's okay, Maureen. The more we know, the better off we are. Let's find out a little bit more from Lauren. What's your take on that? How long did it take you to earn the designation once you decided to do it? And how long did it take you to get there?
Well, I can picture actually when I first heard about it, and that was when Darren LaCroix came and spoke at the District 61 convention, and we were chatting, and he said, oh, you're already a professional speaker. He's like, oh, well, you just need to go for accredited speaker, then that is the pathway. Being somewhat of a competitive person, once he'd given me that little idea, I thought, okay, that sounds great. And like Maureen, I had to really build up my speaking business, which has, I guess, just ramped up over the last sort of 6 to 8 years. And then I applied in 2021. And of course, with COVID, there wasn't a live convention to take part in. And I attempted delivering my message here online from my home studio with no feedback, not being able to see the audience, totally different experience. And while some of the judges passed me, I didn't pass altogether. So that was a really great learning opportunity. And at the time, there was a few weeks before we found out if we'd passed or not. I can remember at the time I wrote an article about how you are not your results. You might succeed at something someday, you might not succeed at something another day, and it doesn't change who you are from that moment to the next. A bit like Simone Biles, who at the time had decided to pull out of some of the Olympic events. That didn't make her any less of an amazing gymnast. So it was a really great learning opportunity. And I thought to myself, if I pass, this will be a gift. If I don't pass, that will be a gift because I will need to come back, learn more, get more feedback, get more coaching, ultimately become a better speaker. So reflecting back now, that is what has happened, and I'm so thankful. And it was a joy to travel to the States with my husband this time, be there live in person, connect with hundreds of people at the convention, be there with that packed room and that incredible audience. I'm so thankful to every single person that was in that audience. Weren't they amazing, Maureen? It was just an incredible,
surreal. That audience was amazing. You're right. Amazing. Doesn't even come close.
Yeah, they just laughed at every moment. I'd hope they might laugh and even more. So it was a wonderful experience. But I would say it's definitely something that's not just a given thing, which makes it more precious, I think. So very thankful for that journey.
Excellent. Was something specific for you is you spoke about the quality of resilience, which many people assume is a mental state. And although you made a point to highlight that the physical aspect of this is what you were talking about when you talked about snacking on exercise. So why is it important to talk about mental and physical principles when discussing resilience?
Resilience is one of my most popular topics, and the keynote I deliver actually has 5 keys to mental resilience and 3 keys to being physically resilient and strong. And one of those is snacking on exercise, which is what I did my TED talk about. So if people are intrigued, they can check that out. Essentially, it's the idea that just like we spend 2 minutes morning and night brushing our teeth, even when we're busy, we wouldn't miss brushing our teeth. But what if we could spend 4 minutes a day just snacking on exercise, fitting micro movement into the day? And I think what's powerful in terms of resilience is that your body reflects how you feel, and how you feel reflects in your body. So your physiology influences your psychology and what's going on up top, and your psychology influences what's going on in your body. So when we're feeling under pressure, when we face a challenge in our lives, being able to reset physically, being able to roll your shoulders back, take a deep breath, get up and move, take up expansive postures, that is a very effective and fast way to shift how we respond mentally as well. So there are lots of keys to resilience, both mental and physical, and what's beautiful is how they interact with each other. And as I shared in my talk, resilience isn't something you get by luck. It is a skill which can be learned. So that's a really great thing, because when you understand the keys to apply and you make yourself take those steps, even when you don't feel like it, or especially when you don't feel like it, that's what builds resilience.
Thanks, Lauren. So something special for Maureen. Your example of celebrity dots helped the audience laugh at imposter syndrome. How did you come up with the idea of everyone having a dot to illustrate their unique strengths?
One of my favorite keynote speakers and coaches is a woman named Patricia Fripp. She's legendary in our business, and she often says, you cannot be creative in isolation. So I surround myself with people to brainstorm and bounce ideas off of. I'm part of a couple of different mastermind groups, and I happened to go to a Train the Trainer event, interestingly held by Darren LaCroix, because he lives here in Vegas, and he's one of my best friends. Went to his Train the Trainer. I presented some of my content to the group. I wanted to turn it more into a training event. I wanted to turn my content into a training event as opposed to a keynote, because they can be very different. And somebody said, you need more interaction, you need more visual, you need something else to get the audience involved. And we brainstormed a bunch of ideas, and we came up with the dot. And then I added on the whole celebrity dot of, I want to change dots, and let's see what that looks like, physically what it looks like. It truly is the one thing in my keynote that gets remembered, repeated, and retained by everybody. Everybody they walk around a conference the rest of the event, and they're all doing this. Got my dot. It works.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, it's good to have something like that, the thing that you're identified with. So Maureen, the next question I have for you is, and I think you've answered it before, but remind us, how long have you been speaking professionally?
Oh, let's see. I've been speaking for a long, long time. Not all the time. When you say professionally, that means being paid for it. I did a lot of unpaid speaking for years. I spoke for local churches and women's groups and teenage retreats and things like that. Lovely people, but I needed to break out. I needed cash. It seems to be the theme in my life. I need cash flow. And it was actually Mark Brown, a combination of Mark Brown, another dear friend of mine, and Rory Vaden, who was the second place winner in the 2008 contest, I think. They both were the ones that said, you need to look into National Speakers Association. You need to take your content and your presence and figure out a way to monetize it. And that got my attention. So, I'm kind of Duolingo here, in Toastmasters to learn the skill, and then in the National Speaking Association to learn the business of speaking. So those two, they fit together well. So.
Thanks, Maureen. What's your take on that, Lauren? How long have you been speaking professionally?
Yeah, I've worked in health and well-being for over 20 years. But I first started out actually teaching aerobics and then lecturing at the New Zealand College of Fitness. So I was teaching anatomy, physiology, human performance. And actually my name tag back then was presenter of fun and laughter. So that was amazing grounding because we got, so I was a lecturer essentially, but we got this incredible grounding in advanced adult learning techniques and making things very interactive. And yeah, Maureen, I loved the dot, it was fantastic. So I did that for a number of years, and then probably really having my own full-time professional speaking business has been around the last 10 to 11 years of just focusing on speaking. So now I'm speaking usually 2 or 3 times a week, yeah, around 100 or so sessions a year across a whole range of different organizations and industries, which is a joy.
I didn't know you taught aerobics. So did I for a long time, many years ago. So woohoo.
There you go.
Coincidence?
Yeah.
I think not. I think not. Well, you've alluded to this a little bit, Lauren, but I guess we'll go a little bit deeper on this. Tell us a little bit more about your professional background and your life in public speaking outside of Toastmasters, which you just alluded to. What are your main presentation topics and what motivates you to keep speaking professionally? I sense it has to do with exercise, but you tell me.
Exercise is more of a minor part now, actually, to be fair, because I have come from that physical health and wellbeing background, but I also did a business degree and a postgrad in human resources. So I've always been about helping people thrive. I also got qualified as a life coach. So I've really just tied all those things together. And what's unique about what I do is I believe I'm the only speaker in the world that focuses on workplace wellbeing and productivity. So really lifting your staff's wellbeing, staff satisfaction, engagement, reducing turnover, reducing poor performance, reducing absenteeism, presenteeism, and really lifting performance. So I just think that everyone deserves to thrive. And we know that when individuals are thriving, that flows on to benefit their entire team, their entire organization. So one of my keynotes is boosting your resilience, which I mentioned before. One of them is leading so people thrive. And in that I share my 6-part model to how to create a thriving culture in your team. So around building trust and leveraging recognition and boosting energy and effectiveness in the team. And I also speak on time management. So I've got a Getting a Grip on Time program. And one of my other popular topics is overcome the overwhelm, which I was up in Auckland speaking to McDonald's head office yesterday on how to overcome the overwhelm. So it's a nice variety. I kind of stick to that niche of well-being and productivity, but there are a few topics in there. And I love doing both leadership development, which I do a lot of to create culture change, as well as full team motivational sessions and conference keynotes.
Oh, so there's quite the breadth of topics to speak on. So Maureen, same for you. What's the professional background, your life in public speaking outside of Toastmasters, and what are your main presentation topics that keep you motivated to keep speaking?
Well, as I presented at the Accredited Speaker at the Toastmasters convention, a lot of people learned my background as a former NASA rocket scientist, which is very cool. I loved it. Moved on from that, raised a few kids, and then became a speaker, which is kind of unusual because engineers were not really known for our verbal skills. But I credit Toastmasters for all of that. I used to speak on very generic leadership topics, and I bored myself really because it just wasn't engaging to me. There was a million leadership speakers out there. So I went on a hunt to find a topic that I could own, that I could make mine, that I could love. And it was imposter syndrome. I read a book about it and changed my life. I was like, closed the book. I said, this is why I'm on this planet, to talk to people about reducing the chronic self-doubt that chatters on in your head that says you're not qualified to do what you're doing. You're not, you don't measure up to what people expect. You're just not as smart as everybody thinks you are. And I teach people to silence that. I found it's a message that resonates across industries. So I don't focus on any specific industry, even though as an engineer, that's my favorite audience is technical people, because I don't have to explain the jokes. It's kind of funny. No offense to people that are not engineers, but it just, it takes a little extra time. It transcends all industries. It transcends economic background, national backgrounds. It is truly an international topic. It is an all age group topic. It hits certain markets a little bit harder than others, but everybody experiences it. Men, women, old, young, technical folks, leadership folks, entrepreneurs, parents. Every one of us struggles sometimes with the, I don't know, am I doing this right? Is today the day they're going to find out that I feel like a fraud? So the message is powerful. It is the only message that I preach. I have two versions of it. I talk to folks that have imposter syndrome. That's a huge hit. I love delivering that because everybody in my audience is with me. And then I also speak to leaders who lead people that struggle with imposter syndrome. Because people with imposter syndrome cover it up really well, and it makes us look like rock star employees. So the leader thinks, this is great. But the leader doesn't know that inside their people are dying 1,000 deaths and exhausted. And like you said, Lauren, struggling with resilience and burnout and all those things that take them down.
Thanks, Maureen. All right, we're down to just a couple more questions for each of you. I'll stay with you, Maureen, for this one. So this year's level 2 presentation was hybrid, and each of you chose to present online from Anaheim. I'm sorry, present on site from Anaheim with hundreds of members and guests, both on site and online. How did you address the challenge of audience members in multiple formats? And what did you do to ensure that the online audience felt included in your presentation?
This is a tough question because I do hybrid presentations all the time. Live, dealing with people that are hybrid, right? I don't often do it where I am hybrid and dealing, I'm not projected to a live audience, like at a conference. So that's a little different. And honestly, I don't know that I do it well enough. I don't even think about it. I just am so connected with the audience in front of me. And I think that translates well into the hybrid audience because there's energy, there's laughter, there's funny stories, there's thought moments that happen, there's the dot. It just, I don't know, I don't put a lot of effort into being specifically like, oh, to the people that are online. I don't do that because it doesn't even occur to me. It just, I'm talking to friends in front of me.
Totally get that. What about you, Lauren?
Yeah, I was very aware of the online because I love doing experiential things during my session, and I had 3, in fact. So yeah, I do make a point of greeting those that are online. I'm a member, as Maureen is, of the National Speakers Association here in New Zealand, but because I don't live in Auckland where the meetings are all held, everything we do is hybrid, and they do a great job of having different camera angles and cutting to those of us that are online and giving us a chance to introduce ourselves verbally. And they've really ramped up the technology to allow that to be a great experience. So I know what it's like being a participant, being out of the room in a hybrid setting. So I'm quite aware of that. So on the day, for example, I wanted people to have a moment of turn to your neighbor and share what's one thing you're grateful for right now. But before I said that, I said, type in the chat or turn to your neighbor and share what's one thing you're grateful for. Let's flood the chat with gratitude. And I checked with the tech team that, as far as I understand, everyone online could see each other's comments. So I knew there would be this flood of positivity there. I strongly encouraged everyone online to get up, to stand up with all of us in the room and do our little physical movement to experience that point. And I did a mindfulness activity, which would be really simple. And I believe that virtually everyone, whether they were in the room or online, would have been able to just check in from the top of their head down their spine to the soles of their feet and get really present. So I just tried to incorporate both of them together, and of course had to be aware of allowing a lot of extra time for laughter in the room and time for the room to get back and get focused, but just kept touching base with those online. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could do more of that. You do it so well.
Oh, it's just, no, I think yours, as you say, I think the physicality of your dot and the dot thing that you do comes across fantastically in person, and it would online as well.
And when I do it virtually, when it's just me in front of my computer talking to other people in front of their computer, I don't do it quite like that. I have slides that are more animated. So, in that sense, I tailor it to the virtual audience. But when it's hybrid, that's weird. I can't. Learning in process.
We're always learning.
Yeah.
The half of it that you have is the passion for the subject and what you're talking about, and that comes through. That's always been a concern of mine, and you both definitely have that, which is even though there is a remote audience, the passion that you have for the topic comes through, and that's so critical, so critical. All right, last question for you. We'll start with Lauren, and that is that you've presented to audiences with a variety of backgrounds and experiences. How do you tailor your message to make sure it's relevant to a global audience?
Well, actually, Toastmasters has been fantastic at helping me learn to relate and forcing me to relate to a global audience. When we lived in Canada, I learned there are a whole lot of phrases that I might have previously used that don't come across to a North American audience. And just to really be clear and succinct with the message, with the words. At the convention, I also had a few key phrases that I actually made sure were on my slides. Normally I use slides that are virtually just images, but I did add a few little key phrases that I really wanted the audience to land. And I know that that's easier, not just for people that perhaps have a different accent to me, but for people that English is their second language as well. It just helps it to easily be absorbed. To talk about the different industries, I do work across a wide range of industries, whether that's government or education sector or private businesses. And I think as a speaker, one of the most important things that we have to do is to learn as much as we can about our audience and then give relevant examples. A few weeks ago, I was working with a distribution center team and talking about stress management. And so we chatted about what are some things that happen on the shift. And it's when your forklift isn't fully charged, or the person before you has only half unloaded their crate. So without having that knowledge or that background myself, for each audience that I speak to, I aim to get some of those relevant examples so that I can be helping them to feel like they're actually seen and heard, and that what I'm saying is hopefully going to land a little better. So I think generally as speakers, our primary job is not to just think about what we want to share, as passionate as we are, but to think about what does this audience need to hear and how do I help this land with them. So yeah, I'm thankful to the opportunities through Toastmasters to be able to grow that journey and hopefully appeal to more people. Yeah.
It's Lauren. Well, you, Maureen.
Gosh, I could almost say ditto, 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 ditto. Everything she said is exactly what I do. I draw on my Toastmaster. I'm part of the Facebook International Toastmasters International website, members only website, and I'll go in there a couple of times and say, hey, I want to tell this story, use this phrase, use this example. Will this resonate with people in other countries? I'm finding out the world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Things that I think wouldn't resonate, they're like, oh, no, we know exactly what that is. Oh yeah, that's a good example. So it's not so much that I worry about making it internationally appealing, but like Lauren, I make it client appealing. I spend a lot of time researching client, talking to the client, taking notes on the discovery calls. I show up at the event, I mix and mingle, and I have conversations, and I'll incorporate them into the slides or into my comments. They love it. It's great. And it builds a connection. Anytime that you learn, they don't think now that you're just an outsider coming in, like, wow, you really know us. You really did some research.
That's good.
That's great, Maureen. I love the idea of asking the questions in the international group. And one other thing, if I can add, is I think for all of us, when we're working with international audiences, it's picking those things that are universal themes that are important, love and hope and courage and perseverance, that when we can pick stories and examples that lean into those themes, those are the things that will resonate globally.
And with my topic, imposter syndrome, the international, I mean, it transcends all countries and parts of the world. But what makes it even harder is that when you have transplants or, people that move from one culture to another, because now they're going to feel out of place, and feeling out of place is the birthplace of imposter syndrome. So I could speak to that so well because it's, it's a legitimate reason for you to feel like you're fake, because you don't look, think, act, sound, or dress like the people around you. But we're going to get you through this.
Excellent. Thank you both. Thank you for Accredited Speakers for sharing your insights and your perspectives with us today. Toastmasters is all about helping each other improve our communication and leadership skills. and you've both given us so many things to think about. Thank you so much for being here with us. If you're interested in learning more about our Accredited Speaker program, please visit the Toastmasters website at toastmasters.org/accredited speaker. Thank you.